it on?
Yes.
Welcome. Hare Krishna. Good thing I've got lots of people around here with brains on, otherwise I would be really out to lunch. Okay, thank you. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. All of you out in cyberspace, thank you very much for your attentive questions and reflections. Yesterday we had a very nice reflection from our local saint, Sarvabhauma, who just walked in, and he's probably embarrassed. He'll probably throw the book at me or something. Well, if it's scripture, he wouldn't throw the book at me. But he made the point how patient Srila Prabhupada is, because we're reading these purports to the teachings of Narada Muni now. Well, first of all, we heard, Prahlada Maharaj's teachings to his friends. Now we're hearing the teachings that Narada Muni gave him within the womb. And as there are in a lot of Prabhupada's books, there's repetition, because the basic points of devotional service, that we're not the body, in so many ways Srila Prabhupada would explain it. But as Sarva said yesterday, he explains it in so many different ways, with so many different nuances, in so many different situations in the Bhagavatam, that it just goes in deeper and deeper and deeper. But if you're thinking, oh, I heard that before, then maybe you should think twice about that. If we hear, according to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, if we hear these books with faith and of course with love, but that's a high platform, but at least with faith and devotion, and without argument, that's what Krishnadas Kaviraj says again and again and again, then you can actually experience Krishna in the sound itself. You can see Krishna literally through your ears by hearing the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita. So then the question comes up, well, we're just distributing so many books, and hardly anybody of the population are coming here. Maybe we're doing something wrong. And then you start to hear, I've heard this before, let's go on to something else. And right? Then even though you're hearing something that's true, you don't necessarily like to hear it, or you get tired of hearing it. This is the problem. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, and Prahlada Maharaj is also saying, that it's very rare, actually, that someone takes to Krishna consciousness. Like all of you in this room have taken to Krishna consciousness. I'd be very careful. And if we think that not very many people are coming, so there may be something wrong with what we're doing, or something wrong with anything, then what does that do? Krishna in the Gita says, Manushanam sahasreshu kaschit yadati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatpataha. That means out of many thousands among men, hardly one will even try to perfect their lives spiritually. And out of millions or thousands and millions of persons who have actually perfected their lives, in other words, that they are, they've realized that they're not the body, hardly one knows Krishna in truth. So the fact that not very many people come to the movement seriously proves the scriptures to be true. So if we think, oh, there must be something wrong because not that many people are coming, then in effect, subtly, we're thinking, oh, maybe what Krishna says isn't true. And that damages our faith, actually, which in turn damages our ability to hear, which in turn damages our ability to go forward and to see Krishna in the pages of these books. So I got all that from what Sarva said yesterday. Thanks, Sarva. Okay, so that's why we're here. And that's why we hear the instructions of Krishna and all the authoritative persons who are in Krishna's line, who have agreed to repeat what Krishna says again and again. And we get enlivened. The more we hear, even if it's the same thing over again, we like to hear what is true. If you hear something that's true, even if you've heard it again and you don't like it, that means there's something wrong with you. It means you don't like to be, that means you're not honest. Honesty means not just you pay your bills on time and you do what you say you're going to do, which is also a part of being honest. But what honesty really means, when somebody says something to you that's true, and then you can hear it and accept it. Okay, with that in mind, we're going to hear Srila Sanatana Goswami's glorification of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, which gives a little more deeper understanding about what the Bhagavatam is. The Srimad-Bhagavata Mahima Stotram from the Sri Krishna Leela Stava by Srila Sanatana Goswami, and it goes like this. Sarvasya-shabdi-puyusha Sarva-livaika Satpala Sarva-siddhanta-ratnaja Sarva-lokaika-drik-prida. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidvandoditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Shri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Symbol of a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Shri Krishna himself. Marika Bando Mat Sangin Mat Guru Man Mahadana Mat Nistarnakam Bhagya Mat Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadutadayin Adini Choshatakara Hanamunchagadachin Mam Premnarit Kantayospura. O bestower of saintliness, saintly, O elder of the most fallen, please never leave me. My heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, we're so lucky. We're able to hear the teachings that Prahlada Maharaj heard while he was in the womb from his spiritual master. That's straight from the saint's mouth. It is 7:29. Okay, continuing to hear what Narada said to Prahlada in the womb. Straightening his father out. Okay, Tamal, you'll get it. Of the different processes recommended for disentanglement from material life, the one personally explained and accepted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be considered all perfect. That process is the performance of duties by which love for the Supreme Lord develops. Purport. Among the linking processes that elevate one from bondage to material contamination, the one recommended by the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be accepted as the best. That process is clearly explained in Bhagavad Gita, where the Lord says, Sarmadharman parijajya mamekam charanam vraja. How many times have we heard that one? Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. This process is the best because the Lord assures, Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishami ma shuchaha. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. There is no need to be worried, for the Lord Himself assures that He will care for His devotee and save him from the reactions of sinful activities. Material bondage is a result of sinful activity. Therefore, since the Lord assures that He will dissipate the results of fruitive material activities, there is no need to be worried. This process of understanding one's position as a spirit soul and then engaging oneself in devotional service is therefore the best. The entire Vedic program is based on this principle, and one can understand it as recommended in the Vedas. Yasya Devi Pura Bhaktir Yata Devi Tata Guru Tasyaite Katata Yarta Prakashante Mahatmanaha. Unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master, all the imports of Vedic knowledge are automatically revealed. Shvetashvara Upanishad 6:23. One must accept the pure devotee, the representative of God, as one's guru, and then offer him all the respects one would offer the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the secret of success. For one who adopts this method, the perfect process is revealed. In this verse, the words Yair Anjasarati indicate that by offering service and surrendering to the spiritual master, one is elevated to devotional service, and by performing devotional service, one gradually becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because of this attachment to the Lord, one can understand the Lord. In other words, one can understand what the Lord's position is, what our position is, and what our relationship is. All this can be understood very easily by the simple method of bhakti yoga. As soon as one is situated on the platform of bhakti yoga, the root cause of one's suffering and material bondage is destroyed. This is clearly explained in the next verse, which gives the secret of success. Text 30 and 31. One must accept the bona fide spiritual master and render service unto him with great devotion and faith. Whatever one has in one's possession should be offered to the spiritual master, and in the association of saintly persons and devotees, one should worship the Lord, hear the glories of the Lord with faith, glorify the transcendental qualities and activities of the Lord, always meditate on the Lord's lotus feet, and worship the deity of the Lord strictly according to the injunctions of the Shastra and Guru. Purport. In the previous verse it has been said that the process which immediately increases one's love and affection for the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the best of the many thousands of ways to become free from the entanglement of material existence. It also said, Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam. Actually, the truth of religious principles is extremely confidential. Nonetheless, it can be understood very easily if one actually adopts the principles of religion. As it is said, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. The process of religion is enunciated by the Supreme Lord because He is the supreme authority. This is also indicated in the previous verse by the word Bhagavato Dita. The injunctions or directions of the Lord are infallible, and their benefits are fully assured. According to His directions, which are explained in this verse, The perfect form of religion is Bhakti Yoga. To practice Bhakti Yoga, one must first accept a bona fide spiritual master. Srila Rupa Goswami, in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1, 2, 74 and 75, advises, Guru pada shreyas tasmat Krishna dikshadi shikshanam Vishambena guru seva sadhu vartmanuvartmanam Saddharma prichchabogadi tyaga krishnasya hetave. One's first duty is to accept a bona fide spiritual master. The student or disciple should be very inquisitive. He should be eager to know the complete truth about eternal religion, Sanatana Dharma. The words Guru Shushushaya mean that one should personally serve the spiritual master by giving him bodily comforts, helping him in bathing, dressing, sleeping, eating, and so on. This is called Guru Shushushanam. A disciple should serve the spiritual master as a menial servant, and whatever he has in his possession should be dedicated to the spiritual master. Pranaya, Atayar, Diya, Vacha. Everyone has his life, his wealth, his intelligence, and his words, and all of them should be offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the via medium of the spiritual master. Everything should be offered to the spiritual master as a matter of duty, but the offering should be made to the spiritual master with heart and soul, not artificially to gain material prestige. This offering is called arpana. Moreover, one should live among devotees, saintly persons, to learn the etiquette and proper behavior of devotional service. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks in this connection that whatever is offered to the spiritual master should be offered with love and affection, not for material adoration. Similarly, it is recommended that one associate with devotees, but there must be some discrimination. Actually, a sadhu, a saintly person, must be saintly in his behavior. Sadhavak sadachara. Unless one adheres to the standard behavior, one's position as a sadhu, a saintly person, is not complete. Therefore, a Vaishnava, a sadhu, must completely adhere to the standard of behavior. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that a Vaishnava, a person initiated into the Vaishnava cult, should be offered the respect befitting a Vaishnava, which means that he should be offered service and prayers. However, one should not associate with him if he is not a fit person with whom to associate. 32. One should always remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his localized representation as the Paramatma, who is situated in the core of every living entity's heart. Thus, one should offer respect to every living entity according to that living entity's position or manifestation. Purport. Hari sarveshu bhuteshu. This statement is sometimes misunderstood by unscrupulous persons who wrongly conclude that because Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is situated in every living entity is therefore Hari. Such foolish persons do not distinguish between the Atma and the Paramatma, who are situated in every body. The Atma is the living entity, and the Paramatma is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The individual living entity, however, is different from the Paramatma, the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Hari Sarveshu Bhuteshu means that Hari is situated as Paramatma, not as Atma, although Atma is a part of Paramatma. Offering respect to every living entity means offering respect to the Paramatma situated in every living entity. One should not misunderstand every living entity to be the Paramatma. Sometimes unscrupulous persons designate a living entity as Daridra Narayana, Swami Narayana, this Narayana or that Narayana. One should clearly understand that although Narayana is situated in the core of the heart of every living entity, the living entity never becomes Narayana. Text 33. By these activities, as mentioned above, one is able to cut down the influence of the enemies, namely lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and jealousy. And when thus situated, one can render service to the Lord. In this way, one surely attains the platform of loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. As mentioned in verses 30 and 31, one's first duty is to approach the spiritual master, the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to begin rendering service to him. Prahlada Maharaj proposed that from the very beginning of life, Komara Acharat Pragya, a small child should be trained to serve the spiritual master by living in the Gurukula. Brahmachari, Guru Kule, Vasan Danto Guror Hitam. Bhagavatam 7.12.1. This is the beginning of spiritual life. Guru Pada Shrayak, Sadhu Manuvart Manam, Sad Dharma Pricha. By following the instructions of the Guru and the Shastras, the disciple attains the stage of devotional service and becomes unattached to possessions. Whatever he possesses, he offers to the spiritual master, the Guru, who engages him in Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. The disciple follows strictly, and in this way learns how to control his senses. Then, by using his pure intelligence, he gradually becomes a lover of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed by Srila Rupa Goswami, Adau Shata Tatak Sadhu Sangha. In this way, one's life becomes perfect, and his attachment for Krishna becomes positively manifested. In that stage, he is situated in ecstasy, experiencing bhava and anubhava, as explained in the following verse, text 34. One who is situated in devotional service is certainly the controller of his senses, and thus he is a liberated person. When such a liberated person, the pure devotee, hears of the transcendental qualities and activities of the Lord's incarnations for the performance of various pastimes, his hair stands on end, his body tears fall from his eyes, and in his spiritual realization, his voice falters. Sometimes he very openly dances, sometimes he sings loudly, and sometimes he cries. Thus he expresses his transcendental jubilation. Uncle John, come over here. There's a chair right here for you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. How nice to see you. Purport. The Lord's activities are uncommon. For example, when he appeared as Lord Ramachandra, he performed uncommon activities like bridging the ocean. Similarly, when Lord Krishna appeared, he raised the Govardhan hill when he was only 7 years of age. These are uncommon activities. Fools and rascals who are not in the transcendental position consider these uncommon activities of the Lord to be mythological. But when the pure devotee, the liberated person, hears about these uncommon activities of the Lord, he immediately becomes ecstatic and exhibits the symptoms of chanting, dancing, and crying very loudly and jubilantly. This is the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. Text 35. When a devotee becomes like a person haunted by a ghost and laughs very loudly, chants about the qualities of and very loudly chants about the qualities of the Lord. Sometimes he sits to perform meditation, and he offers respect to every living entity, considering him a devotee of the Lord. Constantly breathing very heavily, he becomes careless of social etiquette and loudly chants like a madman. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Oh my Lord, O Master of the Universe. Sounds like our kirtans. Purport. When one chants the holy name of the Lord in ecstasy, not caring for outward social conventions, it is to be understood that he is Atmamati. In other words, his consciousness is turned toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 36. The devotee is then freed from all material contamination because he constantly thinks of the Lord's pastimes, and because his mind and body have been converted to spiritual qualities. Because of his intense devotional service, his ignorance, material consciousness, and all kinds of material desires are completely burnt to ashes. This is the stage at which one can achieve the shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. Purport. When a devotee is completely purified, he becomes anyabhilashita shunya. In other words, all of his material desires become zero, being burnt to ashes. And he exists either excuse me. When a devotee is completely purified, he becomes anyabhilashita shunya. In other words, all of his material desires become zero, being burnt to ashes, and he exists either as the Lord's servant, friend, father, mother, or conjugal lover. Because one thinks constantly in this way, one's present material body and mind are fully spiritualized, and the needs of one's material body completely vanish from one's existence. An iron rod put into a fire becomes warmer and warmer, and when it is red hot, it is no longer an iron rod, but fire. Similarly, when a devotee constantly engages in devotional service and thinks of the Lord in his original Krishna consciousness, he no longer has any material activities, for his body is spiritualized. Advancement in Krishna consciousness is very powerful, and therefore, even during this life, such a devotee has achieved the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. This transcendental ecstatic existence of a devotee was completely exhibited by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this regard, Srila Madhvacharya writes as follows: Tad bhava tad yata sarupam bhakti kechit bhaktya vinrityati gayanti cha yatepsitam kechit tushnem japayantiva kechit shobhaya karinaha. The ecstatic condition of devotional service was completely exhibited by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who sometimes danced, sometimes cried, sometimes sang, sometimes remained silent, and sometimes chanted the holy name of the Lord. That is perfect spiritual existence. Text 37. The real problem of life is the repetition of birth and death, which is like a wheel rolling repeatedly up and down. This wheel, however, completely stops when one is in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, by the transcendental bliss realized from constant engagement in devotional service, one is completely liberated from material existence. All learned men know this. Therefore, my dear friends, O sons of the Asuras, immediately begin meditating on and worshipping the Supreme Lord within everyone's heart. Purport. Now, this was Prahlada Maharaj speaking to his classmate friends, or maybe it was, yes, to his classmate friends, but he was telling them how he found out about all this from his spiritual master Nada while he was in the womb. Purport. He was only 5 years old. You're already 8. What's the matter with you? You should have all this already down. Generally, it is understood that by merging into the existence of Brahman, the impersonal feature of the Absolute Truth, one becomes completely happy. The words Brahma Nirvana refer to connecting with the Absolute Truth, who is realized in three features: Brahmiti, Paramatmiti, Bhagavan iti Shabdyate. One feels Brahma Sukha, spiritual happiness, by merging into the impersonal Brahman, because the Brahma Jyoti is the effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yasya Prabha, Prabhavato Jagaranta Koti. Yasya Prabha, the impersonal Brahman, consists of the rays of Krishna's transcendental body. Therefore, whatever transcendental bliss one feels from merging in Brahman is due to contact with Krishna. Contact with Krishna is perfect Brahma Sukha. When the mind is in touch with the impersonal Brahman, one becomes satisfied. But one must advance further to render service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For one's remaining immersed in the Brahman effulgence is not always assured. As it is said, Aruya Krich Trena Padam Padam Tadak Padantyado Nadrita Jushpad Angrayaha. One may merge in the Brahman feature of the Absolute Truth, but there is a chance that one may fall because of not being acquainted with Adhoksaja or Vasudeva. Of course, such Brahma Sukha undoubtedly eliminates material happiness, but when one advances through impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead in relationship with Him as a servant, friend, parent, or conjugal lover, one's happiness becomes all-pervading. Then one automatically feels transcendental bliss, just as one becomes happy seeing the shining of the moon. Who doesn't become happy when they see the shining of the moon, the bright full moon? One acquires natural happiness upon seeing the moon, but when one can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's transcendental happiness increases hundreds and thousands of times. As soon as one is very intimately connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one surely becomes free from all material contamination. Ya nivritis tanubritam. This cessation of all material happiness is called nivriti or nirvana. Srila Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.38, Brahmanando bhavet esha chet pararada guni kritaha naiti bhakti sukham bodhe paramanu tulam api. If Brahmananda, the bliss of merging in the Brahman effulgence, were multiplied 100 trillion times, that's like a lot more than Americans' debt. Can't even conceive of it. I'll say that again. If Brahmananda, the bliss of merging in the Brahman effulgence, were multiplied 100 trillion times, it would still not equal even an atomic fragment of the ocean of transcendental bliss felt in devotional service. Yeah. Brahmabhutat prasanatma nashochati nakankshati samak sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. One who is transcendentally situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward all living entities. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto the Lord. Bhagavad Gita 18:54. If one advances further from the Brahma Nirvana platform, one enters the stage of devotional service. Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. The word Adhoksajalam Bam refers to keeping the mind always engaged in the Absolute Truth, who is beyond the mind and material speculation. Savai Mana Krishna Padartha Vindayo. This is the result of deity worship. By constantly engaging in the service of the Lord and thinking of His lotus feet, one is automatically freed from all material contamination. Thus the word Brahma Nirvana Sukham indicates that when one is in touch with the absolute truth, material sense gratification is completely nullified. Text 38. O my friends, sons of the Asuras, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His Supersoul feature always exists within the cores of the hearts of all living entities. Indeed, He is the well-wisher and friend of all living entities, and there is no difficulty in worshipping the Lord. Why then should people not engage in His devotional service? Why are they so addicted to unnecessarily producing artificial paraphernalia for sense gratification? Purport. Because the personality of Godhead is supreme, no one is equal to Him, and no one is greater than Him. Nonetheless, if one is a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord is easily obtainable. The Lord is compared to the sky, because the sky is vast, yet within the reach of all, not only of human beings, but even of the animals. The Supreme Lord, in His Paramatma feature, exists as the best well-wisher and friend. As confirmed in the Vedas, Sayujao Sakayao. The Lord, in His Supersoul feature, always stays in the heart, along with the living entity. The Lord is so friendly to the living entity that He remains within the heart, so that one can always contact Him without difficulty. One can do this simply by devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam. As soon as one hears of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna Kirtan, one immediately comes in touch with the Lord. A devotee immediately comes in touch with the Lord by any or all of the items of devotional service. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam, Archanam Vandanam Dasyam, Sakyam Atma Nivedanam. Therefore, there is no difficulty in coming in contact with the Supreme Lord. Ko ti prayasa. On the other hand, going to hell requires great endeavor. I think I'll repeat that, unless anybody objects. You object? You do? You object? You don't object? Oh, good. Whew, that was close. Therefore, there is no difficulty in coming in contact with the Supreme Lord, Ko ti prayasa. On the other hand, going to hell requires great endeavor. If one wants to go to hell by illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication, he must acquire so many things. For illicit sex, he must arrange for money, for brothels, for meat eating. He must arrange for many slaughterhouses, for gambling. He must arrange for casinos and hotels. And for intoxication, he must open many breweries. Clearly, therefore, if one wants to go to hell, he must endeavor very much. But if one wants to return home back to Godhead, there is no difficult endeavor. To go back to Godhead, one may live alone anywhere, in any condition, and simply sit down, meditate upon the Supersoul, and chant and hear about Krishna. Thus, there is no difficulty in approaching the Lord. Sometimes the devotees and Prabhupada would have conversation back and forth, and Prabhupada would give the clear, just like he's doing here with us, and then he'd look at us and he'd say, so, what is the difficulty? And we would always think, yeah, that's right, there's no difficulty, until we walked out the door. Clearly, therefore, if one wants to go to hell, he must endeavor very much, but if he wants to return home back to Godhead, there is no difficult endeavor. To go back to Godhead, one may live alone anywhere, in any condition, and simply sit down, meditate upon the Supersoul, and chant and hear about Krishna. Thus, there is no difficulty in approaching the Lord. Adanta Gobir, Vishatam, to Mishram. Because of inability to control the senses, one must go through great endeavor to go to hell. But if one is sensible, he can very easily obtain the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because the Lord is always with him. By the simple method of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, the Lord is satisfied. Indeed, the Lord says, Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam Yomi Bhaktya Priyachtiti Tadaham Bhaktuparitam Ashnami Prayatat Manaha. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it. Bhagavad Gita 9:26. One can meditate upon the Lord anywhere and everywhere. Thus Prahlada Maharaj advised his friends, the sons of the demons, to take this path back home, back to Godhead, without difficulty. Text 39. One's riches, beautiful wife and female friends, one's sons and daughters, one's residence, one's domestic animals like cows, elephants, and horses, in 409 horsepower, whatever. One's treasury, economic development, and sense gratification, indeed, even the lifetime in which one can enjoy all these material opulences, are certainly temporary and flickering. Since the opportunity of human life is temporary, what benefit can these material opulences give to a sensible man who has understood himself to be eternal? Purport. This verse describes how the advocates of economic development are frustrated by the laws of nature. As the previous verse asks, Kim Vishayo Papadanai? What is the actual benefit of so-called economic development? The history of the world has factually proved that attempts to increase economic development for bodily comfort through the advancement of material civilization have done nothing to remedy the inevitability of birth, death, old age, and disease. Everyone has knowledge of huge empires throughout the history of the world. The Roman Empire, the Mughal Empire, the British Empire, and so on, the American Empire. Oops, that's an edit so far, sorry. But all the societies engaged in such economic development, sarver ta kama, have been frustrated by the laws of nature through periodic wars, pestilence, famine, and so on. Thus, all their attempts have been flickering and temporary. In this verse, therefore, it is said, Kurvanti martyasya kiyat priyam chalaha. One may be very proud of possessing a vast empire, but such empires are impermanent. After 100 or 200 years, everything is finished. All such positions of economic development, although created with great endeavor and hardship, are vanquished very soon. Therefore, they have been described as chalaha. An intelligent man should conclude that material economic development is not at all pleasing. The entire world is described in Bhagavad Gita as dukhaliyam, ashasvatam, miserable and temporary. Economic development may be pleasing for some time, but it cannot endure. Thus, many big businessmen are now very morose because they are being harassed by various plundering governments. In conclusion, why should one waste his time for so-called economic development, which is neither permanent nor pleasing to the soul? On the other hand, our relationship with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is eternal. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema. The pure souls are eternally in love with Krishna. And this permanent love, either as a servant, a friend, or a parent, or conjugal lover, is not at all difficult to revive. Especially in this age, the concession is that merely chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam, one revives his original relationship with God and thus becomes so happy that he does not want anything material. As enunciated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Ba Jagadisha Kamaye. A very advanced devotee in Krishna consciousness does not want riches, followers, or possessions. Raya Kalatram Pashavat Sutadayo Griha Mahi Kunjarako Shabutayaha. The satisfaction of possessing material opulences, although perhaps of a different standard, is available even in the lives of dogs and hogs, who cannot revive their eternal relationship with Krishna. In human life, however, our eternal dormant relationship with Krishna is possible to revive. Therefore, Prahlada Maharaj has described this life as artadam. Consequently, instead of wasting our time for economic development, which cannot give us any happiness, if we simply try to revive our eternal relationship with Krishna, we will properly utilize our lives. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Who can write like that? Huh? Who can give the truth straight? Text 40. It is learned from Vedic literature that by performing great sacrifices, one may elevate himself to the heavenly planets. However, although life on the heavenly planets is hundreds and thousands of times more comfortable than life on earth, the heavenly planets are not pure, nirmalam, or free from the taint of material existence. The heavenly planets are also temporary, and therefore they are not the goal of life. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, has never been seen or heard to possess inebriety. Consequently, for your own benefit and self-realization, you must worship the Lord with great devotion, as described in the revealed scriptures. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Chine punye martyalo gam bishanti. Even if one is promoted to the higher planetary systems by performing great sacrifices, which are accompanied by the sinful act of sacrificing animals, the standard of happiness in Swargaloka is also not free of disturbances. There is a similar struggle for existence even for the king of heaven, Indra. Thus, there is no practical benefit in promoting oneself to the heavenly planets. Indeed, from the heavenly planets, one must return to this earth after one has exhausted the results of his pious activities. In the Vedas it is said, Yad yateha karma jito loka chiyate eva mutra punya jito loka chiyata. As the material possessions we acquire here by hard work are vanquished in due course of time, one's residence in the heavenly planets is also eventually vanquished. According to one's activities of piety in different degrees, one obtains different standards of life, but none of them are permanent, and therefore they are all impure. Consequently, one should not endeavor to be promoted to the higher planetary systems, only to return to this earth or descend still lower to the hellish planets. To stop this cycle of going up and down and coming down, one must take to Krishna consciousness. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore said, Brahmanda Brahmate Kon Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadi Poi Bhakti Lata Bij. The living entity is rotating in the cycle of birth and death, going sometimes to the higher planets and sometimes to the lower planets. But that is not the solution to the problems of life. But if by the grace of Krishna, one is fortunate enough to meet a guru, a representative of Krishna, one gets the clue of returning home, back to Godhead, having achieved self-realization. This is what is actually desirable. Bhajatatma labdhaye. One must take to Krishna consciousness for self-realization. Text 41. A materialistic person, thinking himself very advanced in intelligence, continually acts for economic development, but again and again, as enunciated in the Vedas, he is frustrated by material activities, either in this life or in the next. Indeed, the results one obtains are inevitably the opposite of those one desires. Purport. No one has ever achieved the results he desired from material activities. On the contrary, everyone has been frustrated again and again. Therefore, one must not waste his time in such material activities for sensual pleasure, either in this life or in the next. So many nationalists, economists, and other ambitious persons have tried for happiness, individually or collectively, but history proves that they have all been frustrated. In recent history, we have seen many political leaders work hard for individual and collective economic development, but they have all failed. This is the law of nature, as clearly explained in the next verse. Hare Krishna. Prahlada Maharaj ki jai. Okay, I'll stop there for the reading section of our program. Now we come to the blissful part, the open mic part. Yes, our local sage has got it already. Okay, Sarva.
I was kind of struck by when Prabhupada said it's easier to go back to God than it is to go to hell. Although I was thinking, like, if you're entangled in Maya, then once you get stuck in Maya, then it's quite difficult to turn to Krishna because of conditioning and bad association and bad habits. But if you take the path that Prabhupada's laying out, then it is indeed easier and with less trouble to go to Krishna than to go to the indirect route.
Do you know what Prabhupada and how he answered that apparent dichotomy or apparent dilemma? Yeah, he would say, actually, it is easy, no matter how conditioned you are. It is easy to take to Krishna consciousness. And then he would say, Hare Krishna. Say Hare Krishna. And then everyone would say, Hare Krishna. How difficult is that? So it's not the Hare Krishna that's difficult. It's the material desires. It's the lust and the anger and the greed, and that's making it difficult. So as soon as we think if you get it straight, what's actually making it difficult, then it becomes easier. It seems more difficult, but it's not. That's the point that Prabhupada was making. It seems more difficult when we're materially conditioned, but the actual activities of Krishna consciousness are not. Take Krishna Prasadam, that's really tough. I really have to force myself to take that gulab jamun, The wonderful point. How we have to work hard to go to hell, but we don't have to work so hard to go to Krishna Loka.
And sometimes people complain, like, you get a job for the devotees, like Prabhupada, we're just serving Krishna and you're working so hard and we're having good prasad and living in a nice place, making that.
And then he would say, so come and join us. No. Because what do you have to do? You have to follow the regular principles. Impossible. That's their way out. Yeah, like it was in LA that he heard that kind of criticism, and then he said, so come join us. And You won't have to work so hard either. But, to be fair, we also work hard to spread Krishna consciousness. That's a fact. But it's completely different. Different quality of difficulty. Hey Kelly, how you doing?
Good. You?
Take the. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. I have a question about the reincarnation part. So, is that one of the reasons why the meat eating isn't allowed? Because we could be reincarnated into like an animal form, or are we just restricted to being reincarnated into like a human form? Or would it be any form of life?
We can go anywhere we want. Just like now. It's getting tough in America. I think I'll go to Canada or to some island somewhere. So it's in the mind. According to the mental condition, we have, fashions or, lifestyle, or, we decorate our place different than another person decorates the place. All those things, So Krishna says, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam jajant yanti kalevaram. Whatever you're thinking of at the time of death, that's where you go. Because the mind carries you from one body to another. The mind stays with you. And all the perceptions, all the sense perceptions that you've had while you're in this material world, they're housed within the mind. It's like an unlimited hard drive. It's got a really big memory. And we can be here for millions of lives, and all those memories are there still in the mind. Therefore, sometimes when we dream, we'll dream things that are just we've never experienced before and seem like completely out of, our whatever we would think. I mean, most of the time the dreams are what happened to us during the day, and we put them together in different ways in dreams. There's in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, the mind is described to be like a subtle spool, and when it goes to the next body, it just goes and unspools, and there you have a whole lifetime. It's all there already. So, depending on the mentality we have, then we'll get that corresponding body, and that's why there are so many different bodies in the world. It may seem unlikely to us who are sitting in this room, but there's lots of people out there who act like they deserve the body. Like now they're just beginning to go right to the bottom of the ocean. The pressure that's at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, or any of the oceans, it's inconceivable. How can you live there? But they find all of a sudden, now they're finding new species, and they're looking with their thing, and then all of a sudden they see this creature, the big eyes, looking at them, and the eyes start to go, they glow, so they can see the bottom of the ocean, and they've got bodies that aren't affected by all that. It's careful what you wish for. I wonder what it's like down there. Yeah.
I'll keep the ocean out of mind.
Yeah. So you can go up and you can go down, depending on if you act like a pig, you'll get a body of a pig. If you act like a tiger, you'll get a body of a tiger. There was this one guy recently who got the bright idea of having a pet snake, cobra. Now this is really far out. This is inconceivable, and this is the evidence in itself that the soul is actually a little part of Krishna. And we talk about the inconceivability of Krishna, what he can do, live Govardhan Hill, and all these things. But then a human being can decide to have a pet cobra. And he didn't take the fangs out, the poison fangs out. So he had it around his neck. This is a real story. It's in the news. You can, I don't know where you find it. Anyway, I saw it. And he was driving down the road in his car with this cobra around his neck. So what happened? All of a sudden the cobra went like this, and it went oop, like the hit, and went clomp, and clamped him right there. And somehow or other, his cell phone, he touched the right button on his cell phone. I don't know how it works. And he called 911 or something. And as the poison of the cobra was going, he passed out and he was in the car, and his cobra was still locked on his... And the guys came, whatever they call them, what do they call them? Paramedic, thank you. The paramedic came and they got the cobra off his... And somehow he didn't die. He was very lucky, very, very lucky. That is the inconceivable desire of the soul. He can do anything by the influence of the material energy. Material energy can influence anybody to do anything at any time. Nobody's above it. Only if you become fixed in thinking of Krishna in love and serving him with love can you become free from that danger. We can't become completely free from danger because we're in this material world, and there'll always be something around you that's dangerous or disturbing. But a devotee who is always thinking about Krishna and who is in love with Krishna, even though there's causes of disturbance, he won't be disturbed. And what is the symptom of not being disturbed? He doesn't feel some difficulty when a flood comes and he has to swim away from his house or something like that. But he keeps his devotional service going. And that's what it means to not be disturbed, even in the cause of disturbance. The flow of devotional service keeps flowing in the heart of a devotee. That's an advanced stage. Not that everybody is in that stage, but that's the goal. And then beyond that goal, as we just heard, is to find out who we are in the spiritual world and engage with Krishna in our natural relationship, even while we're here in this material world, at least in remembrance, in meditation. And then what happens? When you get accustomed to thinking of Krishna, when you get accustomed to chanting Hare Krishna, then when something happens to shock you, Hare Krishna, that's what you do. You see it all the time, devotees go, Hare Krishna, You'll see a close accident, almost get in an accident, Hare Krishna, It's natural. And then when you leave your body, it's Hare Krishna. Okay, I'm out of here, and it's not that I'm resisting, just you jump out of your body to Krishna. And instantaneously you go to Krishna. In one instant, you travel trillions and trillions and trillions of miles. Yes, Dr. Damodar Ji.
Thank you, Maharaj. I have a question not related to a recent experience I had in my practice. So it was about a gentleman in an Indian body and 70 years old. 2 years ago, he's here for 40 years or so. 2 years ago, he went to India alone without telling anyone with the intention of committing suicide. So while he was contemplating it, he was approached by some people in a church, and they counseled him, made friend with him, and he decided not to. Gradually they made him member of their church, baptized him, and sent him back to reunite with his wife and son. He came here a year ago, and here again he became depressed.
70 years old?
Yes. So now he goes to church here and follow whatever they say. But he asked me this question when he seen a Kanthimala, and he said, I used to go to Hare Krishna since 80s. And he knows temple president here, and he used to come to the temple. But since last 8-9 years, he gradually started coming less, and still used to chant, and now he goes to church. So his question was, and I want your guidance on this. He said he always, since very young age, he followed the Krishna consciousness, but now he goes to the church, and they ask him not only follow the Jesus Christ, nothing else, and don't do any deity worship. So that was his conflict, and was asking my advice. So how should I would respond it to his...
He should follow Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is the Shakti Vaishnava of Krishna. And if he's not qualified to understand Krishna, not everybody can understand Krishna, even if they're on a spiritual path. Therefore it says in Srila Prabhupada explains in many places in the books and in his lectures and room conversations, that if someone actually believes in God sincerely and follows the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master, then he will advance. But he will advance to the extent that that person is advanced. So Krishna consciousness, we've been hearing about the elevated stages of Krishna consciousness, where you can actually find out who you are in the spiritual world and serve Krishna in the mood, of a friend or of a servant or a parent figure or even a conjugal lover. So that's a much higher, more deeply intimate relationship with Krishna, with God. So if a person can't take the Krishna consciousness, as Srila Prabhupada many times in lectures, he said, we want you to chant the holy names of God. And if you can't chant Krishna's name, then chant the name of God that you've been given. But chant the name of God and follow the instructions in the scriptures. So if he follows, then he'll go forward in his spiritual life. And eventually he may go to a heavenly planet. We don't know where Jesus came from actually. There's no explicit descriptions in his teachings or in the Bible about that place. We don't know whether it's heavenly or, like Yogeshwar, Yukteswar is the spiritual master of Paramahansa Yogananda, and he's from Siddhaloka. So you can go to Siddhaloka by following that process. You may go to a higher planet and get a very long life and, facilities way beyond our conception, but then you have to come back here. So the point is that if a person comes to Krishna consciousness and leaves Krishna consciousness and takes to different levels of spiritual practice according to their qualification. Krishna consciousness, pure Krishna consciousness, is not for everyone. If he's taught that the idol is of the devil or is sinful, then he will have trouble when he leaves his body. He may get some relief now from that concept, but he'll have trouble when he leaves his body. You can't always judge it by what's going on right now. The deity worship idol comes from the word idea, and it actually comes from the place in the Bible where Moses went to the mountain to converse with God, to give directions to the Jews who were wandering in the wilderness without a place. And it took him a long time, I guess, because they started to fashion their own idol, and they started to make up their own worship. So that when he came down with the 10 Commandments in his hand, and he saw them doing that, he condemned them. You should have no God before the Supreme God, because they were making it up. It was an idol. But the deity worship in the Vedas is not idol worship. The forms of the Lord are described clearly, and in every Krishna conscious temple you go, you will see the form formed in the same way practically. I mean, a little different here and there by the artists, but dressed similarly, same form. The stories are the same, because it's coming down to us from the spiritual world. So if a person isn't qualified to be able to accept that or hear that, that's according to Shastra. Manusha Hamsa Hasri. I was just talking to somebody about this. Who was it? Anyway, Manusha Hamsa Hasreshu Kaschit Yaditi Siddhiye Yatatam Api Siddhanam Kaschin Mam Beti Tatpadaha. Out of many thousands of men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have actually achieved perfection, who know that they're not the body and are perfect yogis, siddhanam, then hardly one of those knows Krishna in truth. So it should give faith in the Bhagavad Gita that very few people will actually come to the phase of worshipping Krishna as a person. It shouldn't cause one's faith to become less. It should cause one's faith to become more, because that phenomenon is there in the Bhagavad Gita, taught to us by Krishna. If a person is so unfortunate and so suffering so much, that they need that kind of comfort, then we advise that they do that. We don't condemn them. But he should follow Christ's teachings. That's another question of how much are they following and what will be the actual result in the end when they leave their bodies. In the Christian church they teach, give us this day our daily bread. Our Lord who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. In Daniel, book of Daniel, you know the Bible? In the book of Daniel there's a description given by a saintly person that you should go to the streets with cymbals and drums and call upon the name of the Lord from the time the sun comes up until the time the sun goes down. Krishna, Christo, Krista, Christ. It's the same person. Jesus of the Christ. Same person. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur confirmed that he's Shaktivesh, empowered devotee, a Kriya Bhakti Yogi. Bhakti Yoga mixed with mystic things. Therefore, when they are singing, hymns in the church all together, you can taste something spiritual, no doubt. Is that okay?
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Bhakti Matthew.
Thinking that I read in the Bible that anyone who professes and believes that Lord Jesus Christ is the Son of God, then he's on. Basically, it says that they're on the spiritual path, and so I'm just wondering where all these Christians can come up with the idea that Hare Krishna is not Christian, because that you're saying that confirming it's
well, the instruction is that you have to go to Guru. That's the instruction. So the reason why they're confused is because the teachings have become confused. We say the same thing. You have to go to Guru. You can't. Yasya Devi Pura Bhaktir Yata Te Guru. Same instruction. You have full faith in spiritual master and Krishna, or Krishna and the spiritual master. Then all the imports of Vedic knowledge are revealed to you. We heard this in what verse after verse after verse, and purport after purport after purport. So that's what he was teaching. The problem is when you make it sectarian, and you think, only Jesus and no other spiritual master. That's where the problem lies. And that's where they have inquisitions and, wars of, and everybody thinks the religion is the problem, we should not be religious, we should not, because look what happens, but that's not religion. That's material consciousness. If you're a material consciousness, it doesn't make any difference what you do or what you think. We hear, every day we hear that a person who is genuinely Krishna conscious will see the super soul. In Christianity, Jesus taught that our Father who art in heaven, He's the Father of everyone. Aham bija pradapyata, Krishna says. I am the Father, the seed-giving Father of every living being, not just human beings, every living being. But they teach there's no soul in the other living beings, so therefore we can kill them and eat them for our satisfaction. And they say, there was a very wonderful discussion with Cardinal Danilou, who was a cardinal in close to the Pope in France. And Prabhupada was, there's an actual video of it. You should see the video, you should watch the video. It's very instructive. And Prabhupada just nailed him on this. Why are you killing when the Bible says don't kill? And he says, well, you know, we understand that the human being has a special divine, holy, and there's the difference between, and then he went on, just juggling words, and Prabhupada said, so, but the animal doesn't have a soul. No, the animal doesn't have a soul. Therefore it's all right. It's meant for us to eat. So if that's your consciousness, then you won't, even if you got relief from a very disturbed mind of just going to suicide, and you got some relief from that teaching, that doesn't mean that Christianity or the teaching as it's going on now is more elevated than Christian consciousness movement. No way. No way. There's no concrete description of the form and the relationship we can have. So therefore it's limited. Hari Bol, Uncle John. Hare Krishna. That's okay. Yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank you for letting me come.
Thank you. We'll be thinking of you until you come back.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Because, you know, God consciousness is not sectarian. Super soul is in every living being along with the soul and is available to anyone. Suridam Sarvabhutanam, the well-wishing friend of anyone and everyone. So therefore the sectarian concept is a mistake. But it may be that some people in some cultures need that in order to start out. So we accept that. Prabhupada sometimes would say, if they argued with him, he would say, then please, you know, chant the name of Christ, follow his instructions, follow them. Don't be a hypocrite and say that you're a Christian and, you know, organize slaughterhouse to kill billions, literally billions of animals and fish and other living beings every day. You know, I don't even know the statistics. Shivaram Maharaj got all the statistics together. It's horrific. Horrific. And so all the things that are happening in the earth and the wars and the pestilence and the weather changes, and they're all going on as reactions from material nature for these kinds of activities. So what we can do to help? First of all, get ourselves together. Follow strictly and get ourselves together and try to convince others by our company. And with that, I'm going to stop. Thank you so much. Thank you for the lovely questions. Thank you for the lovely, as usual, reflections. Prahlada Maharaj ki jai. Gaur Premanandi, Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samabeda Bhakta Brinda ki jai. See you tomorrow at 6:30 Central Time, USA. Right here in the live studios in Radha Lane. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.